Hey y'all, Wacky Wormer here, and welcome back to my GregTech New Horizons playthrough. Last episode we worked on all these LV machines, and then we also worked on this base a little bit. And then in between episodes you can see I've expanded the back center of this backwards a little bit, and I'm kind of carving this out specifically for power generation. You can see I've moved my solar boilers up here, I've got my Railcraft water tanks nearby, and I've added a second one as well. And then I've also added my small coal boilers down here. But with the intention that I upgrade these to the steel variants, the high pressure boiler variants, as soon as I need to. As I start adding machines, I fully expect I'm going to need a lot more power generation, and I've kind of carved this area out to do it. I can kind of envision a row of boilers on this side and boilers on this side, and then combined with the fir trees, you can kind of see through the windows there that I'm growing. All the wood that I collect from that, and then the charcoal pile igniter. I should have enough fuel to power those, maybe not continuously, but through some, high processing little runs that I have. So that's kind of the plan for this area here. Okay, so first thing is I've crafted this basic electrolyzer. That is the next machine that is part of our progression here. Let's go ahead and get that placed down, and then we'll shift right click that to attach the wire. And then now this electrolyzer in particular, if we open up the quest book, that's going to be needed for gallium arsenide. And it's going to take a lot of, I just realized that this is also blocked by the electric blast furnace. So that's interesting. Anyways, this is going to take a lot of mining to pick up the materials that we need for it, and then we run them through the electrolyzer to get the gallium arsenide out, and then these funnel into, I think it's the diodes that are part of the circuits that are going to get us into MV. So it's part of the progression. It's not really on our short-term list of things to do, but there are other recipes that utilize the electrolyzer, so it's just nice to go ahead and build it. So we've got that placed down, and then we'll work on in the future working on that gallium arsenide. But for this episode, there's two other things I want to focus on. And that is, first of all, the big thing here is setting up our first sort of processing line that's going to produce cables for us. So it's not going to be like fully automated. It's not going to keep us stocked up on cables, but it's somewhere we can go and drop in some ingots and some rubber and sulfur, and then it's going to spit out coated cables on the other end. So right now that process looks like, well, actually I made a flowchart. So let me pull up the flowchart for us. Okay, so here we go. So this is a flowchart of my current process for producing cables right now. So we've got our sulfur ore that we mine up in the nether. Being nether ore, we put one into a macerator, we get 4 crushed ore out of it. And then we go 1-to-1 through the forge hammer. And then I've been running this through the centrifuge. So the centrifuge will generally take impure dusts and turn them into pure dusts. It depends on the input. Sometimes it's a 10% boost on whatever you put in. Sometimes you have a 10% chance for a separate output or something. So for the sulfur dust, it's a 10% boost. And then coming back over here, I've got a slime tree farm out back. So I get the congealed green slime from that, run that through a centrifuge, and then that spits out 8 raw rubber dust. And then 3 of those raw rubber dusts and 1 sulfur dust combine in the alloy smelter to produce 1 raw rubber bar. And then 2 raw rubber bars, or that's just rubber bar, not raw rubber. So 2 rubber bars and a wire in the alloy smelter make cable. So if you math all this out, then you come down to here and you see for each cable that we produce, it requires almost half a sulfur ore, 0.75 congealed slimes, and of course half an ingot. This is what we're going to be setting up today. So the top part of this is exactly the same. We go through the macerator, the forge hammer, and the centrifuge. But then out of the centrifuge, we're going to run through an autocrafter. And this autocrafter is simply going to break down our sulfur dust into tiny sulfur dust. So we'll get 9 of those tiny piles of sulfur dust out for each one that goes in. And then we've got the same deal with the congealed slime coming through the centrifuge, and then we get the raw rubber dust out. But now a single raw rubber dust and 1 tiny sulfur dust go into a chemical reactor, and that produces 1 ingot's worth of molten rubber. And then we can pump, because this is a liquid, we can pump this molten rubber into an assembler, combine it with the wire, and we get 1 ingot of molten rubber with 1 wire produces 1 cable. So you might already have a good feeling that these ratios are a lot better for us, but to put some actual numbers to it, in terms of sulfur ore, we're going to use 0.025 sulfur ores per cable. We're going to use 0.125 slimes per cable, and then still half an ingot because that is unchanged. So this is an incredibly more efficient way of utilizing our sulfur ore. And the congealed slime, I mean, it's a farm. It's effort to go farm it, but other than that, it's not a big deal that we're super efficient with this. But it is nice. And then, of course, the thing I didn't mention is we get this byproduct of refined glue, and that's common to both processes. But that's going to be really useful for producing circuits. So it'll be nice to kind of have a dedicated setup to that, and we get this byproduct out that we're going to be using for circuits. Okay, so let's see how far we can get with this thing. So I'm going to start with the end here first, and I'm going to place down this assembler, and then that should connect the wire in the back. All right. And then so into the assembler is going to go our wire mill. So let's just go ahead and take that. There we go. And then we could just put the wire mill down right beside it. And then we want to make sure, there we go, auto output. And then we want to, that's not what we want to do. We want to hit that. So that should output, let's do some 10. Circuit, is it circuit 1? Let's see real quick. I think it's circuit 1. Circuit 1 makes the wire, yep. So if we put the 10 in there, this should output directly over into the assembler. And it did. Okay, that's good. All right, so then from the assembler, we're going to want to have the basic chemical reactor right above it. This is where I'm not quite sure of the best way to attack this, because we need this electric pump to... actually, we shouldn't. We shouldn't need this. Let's see. We'll see. All right, so let's put the chemical reactor on there, and then we want to set output on the bottom side, which I think that just did. And then if we run a 2x10 cable up, and then we attach that. So now let's do, let's see, yellow. I should be able to craft this into a tiny pile. And then I can do 1 and 1. Okay, this is producing. And then now hopefully this fluid shoots down, yes, into the assembling machine. And then this needs, I think it's circuit 24. Yeah. And then this is going to produce, perfect, our 10 cables. Okay. So we've gotten here to this point. Okay, so then to feed into here, I need an auto workbench, but I don't have any auto extraction abilities on this. So I'm going to put this here, not there. I'm going to put this, I need a block. I'm going to put this here, and then I'm going to hopper it into there. And then this is where I'm going to put our recipe. Okay, So this is going to be really slow, but it's going to produce 9. So I don't think this is going to be the bottleneck. Okay, and it doesn't require power. So next we need to push into there, and then that's going to be the job of the... oh, that's actually where we're going to dump sulfur dust out of the centrifuge, yeah. So we're going to have this centrifuge, and I'll need to make some more wires up, which I can do now. Can I do that with 2? Is that what... 2x10 wire. Yeah, that's 2 on here. So let's grab this out. We've got some of that. Let's just go ahead and throw some rubber dust in here. Where did that go? So y'all probably just saw a goof up I made there. I put the yellow limonite dust I happen to have in my inventory in there instead of the sulfur dust, so that confused me for a second. But we're going to let this produce, and then I'm going to grab some more tin, and we'll get some 2x10 cables crafted up here shortly. And then let's go ahead and go to sleep. And then, so I'm down a centrifuge. I'm going to steal this one. Kind of stinks. I'm going to lose a lot of refined glue. Actually, let's go ahead and grab that glue. Yeah, let's go ahead and grab that glue. Perfect. Okay, and then we're going to steal this. And then... so that's going in here, and then we could just put it up on top. And then we need to... did that go? I did that wrong. Hang on. Something just blew up, but all my machines are here, so I don't know what that could have been. Everything looks normal. Okay, that was a little creepy, but we'll take it. Anyways, it was kind of nice that I had speed from sleeping there. That was pretty useful. Alright, so we need to get power up there, and then run over to the back, and then hopefully this has power. We set it to item auto output. Yep, and then it's processing the slime for us, and then now that should run down and push straight into, so this is at 35 now. It should jump up by 8, so it'll be noticeable when this completes. Oh, yep, it did. Okay, perfect. So let's feed some more sulfur dust into there. We'll top that off with rubber dust. And yeah, we're kind of set, I think. So into this basic centrifuge here, we would put in our impure sulfur piles that come directly out of the forge hammer. They pipe over, and then into here we put our congealed slime. And then into here we put our ingots. And then let's go ahead and switch this back to 1 just so I don't screw anything up. And then out of here we get our 10 cables. Cool. And then obviously I could put like a hopper or a chest directly under this or something. So I could run multiple things through. Same thing here. I could hopper into this. So I could load up like copper and red alloy and tin. But yeah, so we kind of have a processing line here. That's awesome. And then the other thing that might need to happen at some point is for this centrifuge, possibly piping out the refined glue into a tank or something. I may even do like an assembler attached to it, where this pipes out into the assembler, and that just kind of becomes my refined glue assembler or something. I don't know. So cool. That's actually really exciting. That's pretty neat. I do hear that we have run through all of our power, it seems. Yeah. What's our outputs? Our outputs are full there, so okay. So that's fine. That's what these boilers are for. I can do that off screen, get these upgraded and run. Hopefully, I don't know. It's a little disappointing that the 2 solar boilers can't fully carry this, but that's not a big deal. It'll be easy to fix. Let's just go ahead and disable those things. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so we've got one more thing we're going to do this episode, and that is creating the, what's it called, like the quick and dirty portal generator. So this is going to take us to the Twilight Forest. So we need a diamond and 4 circuits in an assembler. There's our diamond, there's our 4 circuits. It doesn't matter what program circuit number's on here. And then this is going to process, and then we'll take this, and I've already got the water area, the water flower kind of set up. I'll show you that in a second. So that's ready to go for us to hop into the Twilight Forest. This is necessary part of the progression for a few different reasons. So number one, it's going to open us up to silver, nickel, and lead ore veins. I think some of those might be together. I don't really know the arrangement of them, but we'll be able to actually mine up silver now instead of getting these small piles. Lead, I'm pretty sure, is a big part of doing the battery crafting that we're going to have to do to get closer to MV. And then nickel is a big component of both Invar as well as the coils, I believe, that go in our electric blast furnace. Not 100% sure about that, but I think so. And then not to mention that Twilight Forest also opens up a lot of your Thaumcraft progression. So all of your ore veins for the 6 elemental shards, right? Those occur in the Twilight Forest. And then components that you need for your wands are gotten from the boss fights in the Twilight Forest. So that's going to open up some Thaumcraft progression for us as well. So anyways, you can see this is your typical Thaumcraft portal setup. You've got 4 water source blocks in a square, and then surrounded that by vanilla Minecraft flowers. I kind of made a little pattern here, but it doesn't matter as long as all of these squares are filled in. And then we toss our thing in there, and then there we go. So the lightning is a little aggravating, but other than that, that's the Twilight Forest. So let's go ahead and hop in. In another playthrough I've had, it's not incredibly dangerous. It seems to be, I wouldn't call it safe, but it's pretty safe. So it's always twilight, right? So there's no like very few zombies and skeletons and things like that pop up, though they do occasionally pop up. I seem to have spawned underground here. There are like kobold things that run around and will attack you. And then of course there are like the actual boss fights. But outside of that, the Twilight Forest seems to be a fairly safe place to be. It could be a good place to pick up any of the Pam's gardens if you haven't yet. And yeah. And then ore generation is going to work here exactly the same as it does in the overworld. You're going to mine up things exactly the same way. You can see this is the arena for the Naga fight. So I got to do a lot of weapons and armor crafting before we're ready for that, but we will do that eventually. So cool. So off screen, I'm going to do some mining for those resources that we can find here in the Twilight Forest, namely lead, I believe. And then given our power problems we just had there, probably some silver so I can craft up a couple more solar boilers. And then, yeah, I'm going to work on getting the things we need set up for the gallium arsenide stuff that we need there. And yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. Cool. All right. Well, if you enjoyed the episode, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.